Good afternoon. Oh, here we are. Start streaming as well. Phil, very clever. Good afternoon, top badminton fans. We're here today with Mr. Phil Sutton, who is down south in Englandshire. Although he's originally a Welshman, we're going to go over and say hello to Phil Sutton. Say hello. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody.
It's nice to see you. Have you? Let's get the important stuff out of the way first. Let's get the important things out of the way first, please.
Okay.
How was your golf yesterday?
Golf, quite cold. I played really well, actually. Not too bad. Getting a lot of practice in at the moment. I got a tournament in 3 weeks' time. So start the sort of qualifying process to try and play for Wales again,
Oh, really?
So I'm practicing really hard at the moment.
What do you play off then? Are you a scratch golfer then? Wow. That's hardcore. That is hardcore scratch golf, so yeah, wow.
I keep fitter for golf than I did for badminton some times.
You have to play a lot to be good at golf, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm not somebody who over practices, but from my point of view, I've had quite serious back problems.
Have you?
With me, it's keeping fit. I have to get fit to play golf.
Yes.
I don't use golf to get fit.
Yeah.
I still do quite a lot of physical training and weights training and bend training, etc.
It's quite important. I mean, you see all these golfers, you think there's obviously some exceptions, but they really work out, right? They really do the core exercise is incredible, right?
Upper body and sort of leg work, and your torso and sort of your core work. You've got to do a lot of core work.
So as a scratch golfer, how many times a week will you play?
Well, I live literally a minute and a half from the golf course. So.
Do you? Oh, how good is that? So, are you one of those guys that walks with your trolley?
Yeah, I can walk around. I carry a little pencil bag around.
No, but I'm talking about to the golf.
No.
You take the car.
Yeah. I go for it. Well, I'm at about 200 feet above sea level,
right.
And the club is at 800 feet above sea level. So, got to drive all the way around up the hill to the top, and then we start from there.
What golf club is it?
Dunstable Downs.
Nice, right? Okay, and it's a tough one, is it?
Yeah, we overlook the London Gliding Club.
Really?
So it gives you an idea where we are situated, right on top of the Chilterns.
Really, wow. And have you lived there a long time?
Since 1983.
Wow. Same house?
Same house.
Wow. Creature of comfort. A creature of comfort. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Don't change much.
Yeah, that's good. That's quite right too. But let's go. Oh, I've lost my screen there. Let's get on with some questions, shall we? Okay. Let's get on with the old questions. It's good fun. So, your full name?
Philip Colin Sutton.
And where does that Colin come from, Philip?
Colin comes from my grandfather, Colin Sutton, he's passed away now, but up in Staffordshire. My great-grandfather, actually.
And is that where your family hails from originally then, is it?
My father's side, yeah. Cheadle in Staffordshire.
Yeah, nice. It's and you're a Welshman, though, is that right?
I'm born and bred in Ebervale. Lived in Ebervale, born there at the Rookery, and lived at Hilltop. I'll give you an idea how high that is. It's 1,200 feet above sea level.
Wow.
And wherever I went there in Ebervale, you're either going up or down. It was never flat.
And how was it? What was badminton community like? How did you get into badminton in that area?
Literally pure accident.
Really?
I was at school, Glencoid School, and I used to go to youth club. We had a fantastic physics teacher, Ivor Lewis, who used to run a model making session at youth club. And it was brilliant, loved going to it, making models, ships, planes, stuff like that, with balsa wood.
Yeah.
And I was going past the hall one day and I saw, some people, playing badminton, but with cork bats.
With what?
With cork bats.
Right.
And I thought that looks a bit good fun. I like everything, being youth club. I was only 12 at the time. And I thought, well, go and give that a go. And so went in, and one of the teachers who was there at the time, I'll come back to him in a moment. He stepped me up. He said, "All right, there you are. There's your bat, cork bat, but with
what's a cork bat?
A cork, no strings, no nothing.
No way.
Just a cork.
Really?
Yeah. And basically, it was half court. You played half court, and I just had a go. And the teacher was a person called Alan Tudgay. He was my maths teacher and engineering drawing teacher, or technical drawing, would probably call him.
Yeah.
And I sort of went a couple of times and had a go with these cork bats. And he said, you seem to have a little eye for it. When I was
Let's try a racket with string in it instead.
Yeah, there was no strings there, and I hadn't even nailed the proper badminton racket at this point.
Really?
And he said you seem to have a bit of a knack for it. Why we run a badminton club for the better players after school.
Yes.
Little did I know that the better badminton players were quite good.
Really?
And that was my introduction to badminton.
What age were you then?
I was 12.
That was you getting into it. That's wow. That's
so pure accident, really.
What was that name again? The chap that got you into it? Alan
Tudgay.
How do you spell that? What was it?
T-U-G.
Right.
Tudgay. Tudgay.
Tudgay. Wow.
Alan
and he was. Did you say he was a maths teacher?
He was my maths and technical drawing teacher. Little did I know at that particular time, he was the Gwent School's badminton coach.
Really?
And also the Welsh. He was also involved in the Welsh School's coaching system. So he obviously knew what he was doing and what he was looking for. And he then became my coach for the next 5 years.
Really? And did he?
Yeah.
How big was badminton in the area? And also, was it a town? Was it a village? What?
Can you imagine it in the valleys? It's very much a mining community. 2 big collieries, and we also had the biggest steel making steelworks in Europe at the time as well. And so it was predominantly a mining and steelworks town, Ebervale was. And if I was to say that we are probably one of the best rugby teams as well, club teams, which was the Steelman, which is Ebervale Rugby Club. So you can imagine badminton wasn't really that popular.
No, I was going to say, quite a unique, and so there wasn't. Did you have peers that you went that were the same as you, that were in maths with you, that started going with you? Was it a friends thing? Was it just you? What?
No, it was just me. And basically, it was. I was playing. To tell you the truth, it wasn't the sport. I was my main sport at that particular time was golf. I used to be a member at Westmont Golf Club, which is the highest golf club in Great Britain.
Really?
Which is 1,600 feet above sea level. It's right on top. It's right on top of the mountain. So I was playing golf at the time as a junior there, and so that was my main sport. But to get up there, run up there wherever you went, it was always up a mountain somewhere.
And how did you get into golf, Phil, as well?
Basically, when running, really, we cross country with the school.
Right.
I mean, you either played rugby, you cricket, or you did a lot of running. Luckily, I used to love cross country, and while we were doing one of the cross country sessions, I realised there was a golf course on top of this mountain.
Really.
And sort of sneaked up there in the summer. I only had one club.
Did you?
And sort of snuck on and hit a few balls. And so a few of the members saw me up there a few times, and one of the members said, "All right, here's another club you can have." So I think I had a 3-iron to start with. And then one of the other members gave me something like a pitching wedge and said, "Right, oh, there you are." And then another one gave me a putter. And this sort of went from there.
Before you know, you've gifted yourself a full bag. But unfortunately, you have to stop paying to be a member.
Yeah, that was the issue. Yeah, that was one of the main problems.
And what about family? Did you have brothers or sisters or anything?
Three sisters.
Really? Any of them into
Three
sport,
sisters.
golf? Was there any influence in that?
No.
Really?
All younger than
Really?
myself, and but basically, what happened is when I did get into the badminton, I sort of was thinking about this, when you talked about coming on here, and I thought, well, actually, my sisters were the first proper hand feeders of a shuttle, really, to me, because I was either playing against the wall, because I got really keen, and or my sisters used to get the shuttle and throw the shuttles up in the air so I could smash them.
Really?
Against the wall. And so I was thinking, actually, that was technically hand feeding, wasn't it? It was we were doing that in 1972.
They were throwing plastic shuttles at you, though, right?
Yeah, but my sisters were really not into sport. Nobody in my family was.
Your mum or dad are not into sport either. It was just literally just you and.
Well, my dad died when I was very, very, very young. I was only 4 years of age when he died. He was. We were living at RAF St Athens, and he got killed on a motorbike.
Oh, wow.
So life was it was a bit difficult. Yeah. My mum never remarried, and her focus was really just bringing us up.
That's nice,
really, for her.
Good on her, right? Good on her. And did she ferry you about and stuff like that with the badminton when you're going?
Well, it was impossible. My mum didn't drive.
Didn't she?
No. So really, this is where the story really begins with the badminton and how difficult it was, because whilst I developed a passion to play badminton, so I joined the school badminton team, and obviously Alan Tudgate was the coach.
Yeah.
I was then invited to Eugene Cross, which is down at the cricket school, down right next to the rugby club.
Right.
And the cricket school combined into changed into two badminton courts in it. So you pulled all the cricket nets back, and then you had two badminton courts. So the cricket, when the cricketers finished, you had the badminton.
And where did you play before that? You were in school before that?
Yeah. So I'd go to school, then I was allowed to play before 7:00. Wasn't allowed to play after 7:00 because obviously the senior members would turn up in the club who were better.
Yes.
And but Alan Tudgate would turn up a bit early and have a game with me and give me a bit of coaching, and that's where my love affair began.
So what age was that then? What age when you got to that the Eugene Cross place? What age did you start there?
13, 14, yeah.
You're kind of great. You're getting there. You're getting stronger, I guess. All that kind of stuff. You must have been getting close to the standard to get there. We have to feel, maybe still only a year into it, I suppose, weren't you? Really.
Yeah, I mean, by 15, I was pretty well accepted into the club, and the members sort of accepted me, joining in with the senior members. I couldn't really afford to tell the truth, join the club, and the members could see the potential and the commitment I had.
Yes.
They chipped together and paid for my membership. Really,
how great is that?
Yeah, and so I used to literally go straight from school and, go down there afterwards and badgered anybody to come down early and have a knock before, we could have a game of singles, because predominantly from 7:00 it was doubles or mixed. Yes. So it was predominantly get down early if you wanted a game of singles, and and after that learn your trade at doubles and mixed. Then,
but it's amazing your energy, isn't it? I mean, playing singles now. I don't know if you've played it, but I play an hour of singles. I spoke a couple of weeks ago. I run a club in Edinburgh, and I started a club 6 till 7 playing singles, and then the proper club 7 till 10 or something. By about 7:00, I was absolutely exhausted. It was ridiculous. Yeah. It's hard work, singles, and then you think what you did back then, right?
Yeah. I had a lot of. I used to do a lot of running. I mean, running was really one of the things I did love, because it was total control. And I suppose what happened then is that by the time I got to 15, I was doing quite well at junior level at that age group.
Right.
I caught on very, very, very quickly, and started winning sort of county junior events, and then won my first national under-18 title at 15.
How amazing is that? Under-18 title at 15. That's amazing.
Yeah. And men's doubles with a young boy called Simon Jones, left-hander. But what happened then was obviously, like everything, it started taking over my life a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was a choice then: do I stick with badminton? Do I play golf? And I decided to choose the badminton side of things.
Loved it. And was that a career then? Was that a career choice when you were at school and stuff? When somebody would say to you, "What do you want to do when you finish school?" What would you say?
Well, the steelworks was closing down, and all the mines were starting to close down.
Yes.
So there was huge unemployment during that period, and so I was starting to think, what am I actually going to do? What am I actually going to do at the end of all this? Because there was just no jobs.
Yes.
I mean, it was devastated. The Valleys was, or certainly Ebervale was, because there used to be 10,000 blokes working in the steelworks.
Yeah.
And the mines. So it must have been 1,000 at least. Blokes working in the different mines we had around us, Prince of Wales Colliery and the Marine Collieries. And so, and then they were all closing. So you had a lot of unemployment.
So how do you, when you have that conversation with your mum, say, and she says, "Okay, Phil, what are you going to do when you finish school?" And you would say, "Mum, I don't know what I want to do. I just love badminton." So is that how did that conversation go? And did she say, "Don't be so bloody stupid, Phil"?
It didn't really quite go that way. Really? Actually, it was literally I was going to school, and I was doing my A levels, O levels, and GCSEs, and all the usual things, and then got those. Then then went on to doing A levels. But the badminton was getting better and better and better. And so by the time I was sort of 17, I was already I was number one, pretty much by then as number one junior in the country. And again, quite a lot of publicity. But I was also very close to being, I was number two, number two in seniors level.
Yeah, really.
And then I was setting my sights on being...
And you start to see money coming in. Is that the thing? When you win these tournaments, there's actually money coming.
Well,
do you go home with it or what?
In those days, there was literally, hardly any money about, really, to tell you the truth. And any money that was coming in from, to help me was through the Welsh Sports Council.
What's that?
Via the Sports Aid Foundation.
Really?
Which was the main thing in those days.
Yeah. So that's equivalent now of Badminton Wales, is it?
Well, the Sports Aid Foundation was a bit like lottery.
Yeah.
So they had a load of money, and they would look at sort of players and sort of say, well, this is really a good potential player. We'll give him a little bit of extra funding, and it was controlled that way. The Welsh Badminton Union was separate. They had limited amount of money, but luckily. Maureen Hybart, who was the first paid administrator for Wales, could see really what was going on and the potential, with regards to where I was going. Yes, and I was very lucky that she had the foresight to sort of see that if I was given the help and certainly with the attitude I had.
Who did she work for? Where did she come from?
I believe she lived down near Cowbridge and Penarth down in South.
But you don't know what was she? Badminton Wales, what?
Yeah, she was the administrator for Wales. Lyndon Williams' old job when Lyndon Williams was there.
Yes, okay.
So Lyndon more or less took over, I think, after she retired. And so. She had the foresight to see, that if they could get a little bit of funding and help me a little bit, then, that would progress badminton in Wales.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at sort of thinking, right, I'm number 2 in Wales. I've only now got to dispose of Howard Jennings and Steve Gully, who were the top players at the time. And then everything changed. Everything changed with regards to the level I thought I was going to get to.
Yes.
It changed because of one particular player. And it sort of changed the standard that I had to start thinking about.
Really?
And that was basically, I was going to the Welsh squad sessions, and I was starting to knock on the door, beating Howard Jennings and Steve Gully, who were the best players in Wales at the time. And I was getting very close to beating them, and I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm nearly there. And then came along a young player from Malaysia called Yim Chong Lim, YC Lim, who owns YC Sports now in Cardiff.
Yes.
And he'd been part of the Malaysian national badminton team. He was studying accountancy at Cardiff, and all of a sudden he'd been in Cardiff for a few years, so he qualified to play for Wales. And the level that I was aiming at then was changed, because YC was up there.
Yes.
Whereas I was looking at this. He was on a totally different level.
Yeah.
And he was one of the best players in Europe for a couple of years when he started playing. And so, in a way, through that, I mean, I played him in 2 national finals, 77 and 78 and 79.
Yeah.
And in those 2 matches in the final of the national championships, I can count on my one hand how many times he hit a backhand.
Really, yeah.
I mean, his footwork was phenomenal. His movement around the court was phenomenal. Yeah. And he never played a backhand. He was just an unusual thing.
He was Malaysian, you said?
Yeah, Malaysian, yeah. And so all of a sudden the bar, which, as I say, went from there, now it's up there. If I want to be the Welsh number 1, I've really now got to change.
You've got to be like a Malaysian number. It's
yeah. So I was still being coached by Alan Tudgay, and I was going to Welsh squad sessions.
Where were they, Phil? Where did you go for them?
Sophia Gardens in Cardiff.
Right. Is that a long way? Is that a long way from home?
In those days, about 45 minutes to an hour through the valley roads. But the road structure is totally different now, so it'd only be about 30 minutes, 40 minutes at most. Yeah. But in those days, it took about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But again, I was lucky. There was a couple of boys from Ebervale who were part of the Welsh squad who were in the grammar school. They were in the posh school. And I used to catch a lift with them, really, to go to the Welsh squad sessions.
And how often did they go?
That was once a week, that was, every Wednesday. We used to go down there for the Welsh squad sessions.
And what age were you then, Phil?
I was sort of 16, 17.
So you're not finished school yet? You're still at school? Did you go?
I'm still at school. Still at school, yeah.
And when did you play through the week then? How many times did you say at that point when you were doing so well? How many times a week would you be on a court or playing? Yeah.
I went from a situation where I was playing sort of Tuesdays and Fridays at the Ebervale Badminton Club. So I always had those 2 sessions. And then Welsh Badminton then hired a coach to come and coach me 3 times a week on top of that in the mornings before I went to school. They paid for a coach called Cedric Pushong, who used to play for Surrey, had moved to Wales. And he was a quality player, but also, a very good coach. And so I used to go and have coaching sessions with him at Ebervale Leisure Centre at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then 6 o'clock in the morning, have a session with him. We'd do singles and routines for about an hour and a half, go home, have a quick shower, then go to school.
Wow.
And that's how it went a little bit for quite a while. And my progression was, moving pretty quickly during that period.
What about sponsorships or anything like that? Did people approach you? Did that happen? Or what? And at what point was there people scouting about Carlton? These kind of people? What?
That didn't really happen, really. No, that didn't happen. We got free tracksuits, free kit from the Welsh if you're part of the Gwent squad, you got your kit
But
through
there's no
there.
manufacturer coming to you. There's nobody chopping at your door from anybody.
Nothing at that moment. In 1978, I'd gone down to Surrey on a badminton course with Roger Mills, and basically, saw another side of badminton a little bit.
Another level, yeah.
Yeah, I'd gone down there on a couple of coaching schools, summer camps he used to do, and then saw a different level of badminton, and then around about 76, 77, I went and watched a triangular match between Denmark, Sweden, and England juniors. And the juniors at that particular time were Morten Frost Hansen, Kevin Jolly, and there was a guy from Sweden called Bruno Wackfeldt. Now, Morten Frost was on one level, Kevin Jolly was on another level, but this Bruno Wackfeldt was on a totally different level to them as well.
Really?
He beat those really easily.
Really?
And and to watch it, we went up to Redditch to watch this match, and Barnt Green, and the quality of the in Redditch, at Redditch Sports Centre, and the quality of the badminton was just out of this world. And like everything, when you see things like that, you get totally inspired.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired, was got me going really. And sort of, I thought, right, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And then it was a question of, right, how do I actually make that happen?
Yes, I'm very interested in that. What was you thinking?
Well, I was going to the Welsh squad sessions down into Cardiff. I got pretty friendly with YC Lim. There was Peter Lim and there was Chung Sun Lu. So there's three Malaysians now who are all pretty good. Chung Sun Lu was very good. YC Lim was obviously on a really high level. But I was going down there, training hard. And YC Lim sort of said, look, I've got a house, I've got a spare room. Do you want to come and live down
Really?
here?
Wow.
And basically train and play.
Wow.
So I got a job at CS Sports in Cowbridge Road in Cardiff, working in a sports shop there, stringing rackets and just generally doing, sports shop stuff.
Yeah.
And that was in 77, late 77, early 78. Lived with YC. And then he would go studying at university and I would meet him.
So he was young. So he was what, 20s, was he?
He was in his 20s then. But he would finish studying at the university and I would meet him in the sports hall with Chung Sun Lu and Peter Lim. And, some of the stuff we were doing then was it was mind-blowing for me. Certainly the footwork patterns and shadow badminton. We were doing lots and lots of shadow badminton. And but also one of the things that YC introduced me to is 1,000 skips a day. And 1,000 skips a day. And I can honestly say this was quite painful process. That was.
That's good.
To get to start doing that, to develop the calf muscles and the power in the calf muscles and also the thigh muscles.
Yeah, it's great exercise. But and where had he learned? Do you know where? I mean, he's obviously in his 20s. Where he'd come over from Malaysia and he trained up as a junior, I guess, up till 20 over there, right?
Yeah, he played in the Malaysian squad. He was in the Malaysian squad, wow. And he come over to Cardiff to study accountancy, and but that whole issue, even though I lost to him for the first twice in the national final, I had to change my whole way of how am I going to beat this guy,
Yes.
And. I was lucky enough to meet a guy called John Sayers, who was very much into visualization.
What's that?
And visualization, you picturing yourself performing, and picturing yourself performing, but also, one of the problems with playing with YC is that when he went around the head to smash, he could smash cross court straight. He could do a drop shot straight or cross court, and it was so difficult to. The deception was so good. Yeah, the deception was so good. It was, you commit to one side, he'd go that side. If you commit to that side, he'd go this side. And so I had to use this visualization an awful lot to start picturing myself, not only one getting the shuttle back, when he played these shots, but also how do I get these shots back so that he doesn't come straight in and bang and knock it on the floor from the net, because he was so fast. So there was a number of issues around trying, right, okay, one is getting the shuttle back, but two, I can't get it back to where he thinks it's going to be.
Yes.
I'm going to put it somewhere
else.
So...
amazing. You've got to learn that deception, and you've got to learn that to play that deception in your own game, right? In that motion. I've got a friend, Alan Evans, who's got just the best last-minute reaction. He can smash, he can clear, he can drop, and from there to there, you wouldn't know what he's going to do. From there to there, right? Yeah. It's literally that motion of there's that much space between that, and you'll be standing there, right? Here's a smash coming in, or you'll be at the net, and he's slow, and I think it's just forearm muscle. I think it's just muscle in the forearm that can just send it. But it's a entirely different thing to what. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, when you play with. But interestingly, you were the best player he was probably come up against as well. He's come from Malaysia. The standard's been amazing. He's come to Wales, right? So he's feeling the opposite of what you're feeling, I guess.
Yeah. He was the big fish in a small bowl sort of thing.
Yeah. So playing against you was as good as it was going to get, probably for him as well.
In Wales at that particular time, yeah. But then. Yeah, again, I've always been a firm believer that life is, opportunities crop up disguised in all sort of forms. Yes. And I've been on one or two of these courses, as I said, down to Surrey, to Roger Mills. And we'd had a couple of conversations that he said if ever a job came up at the Surrey University in the sports science department or in the sports department, would you be interested? And I said, yeah, if any jobs come up, let me know. And Roger was obviously one of the most respected coaches in the country at the time, and coaching the likes of Billy Gilliland, Kevin Jolly, stuff like that. And so it was amazing that out of the blue, I was living with YC, and things were going great. And, after getting over the hurdle of also telling my mum that I was moving to Cardiff, because that wasn't easy either.
On her own, and she's brought you up.
Yeah. And it was, a question of, okay, right. I had a phone call off Roger saying, I know you're going up to Scotland to play the West of England under-21 championships in a couple of weeks' time. How are you getting up there? So I'm going by train. Going by train, got to come into London and up from London up to Scotland in those days. Yeah. And he said, can we detour you to Guildford? There's a job going here, and I'm sure if you came to have the interview, there's a big chance you might get that job. Wow. So changed my plans a little bit, changed all the tickets, made a detour, had the interview, went to the west of Scotland, or east of Scotland, under 21s. I think I won that tournament, came back, went to Surrey, had the interview, came home, got a phone call. He said, actually, you've got the job. Wow. You can start. But then that created an even bigger dilemma, really. And I'm sure there are players who been in the same situation, but I knew nobody who had been in the situation. From my point of view, I was probably the first one to be in that situation. I'm now thinking of leaving Wales and playing badminton somewhere else. I'm not thinking of playing for another country or anything like that, mind. I'm just thinking, is this a good opportunity or not?
Yes.
And this is where Maureen Hybart was fantastic, and luckily, on the Sports Council for Wales at that particular time, who was involved with the funding of things, was Lynn Davis, the Olympic long jumper. and Gerald Williams, ex-rugby player. They were the sort of people in charge of funding and giving out funds for things like this.
Sport Wales, is it? Sport Wales, I guess.
Yeah, Sport Wales, yeah. And Maureen Ibart, I explained to her what the situation was. I said, it's, from my point of view, I think it's a great opportunity to be able to play badminton at an even better, even higher level. Yes. Yeah, and so she arranged a meeting with Lynn Davis, Gerald Williams. We had a good chat about it, and it was unanimous that whilst I was probably going to get some stick for leaving Wales, it was probably the best thing to do. Yes. From a progression point of view and from a learning point.
For yourself, yeah.
Yes, for myself, yeah. And there was no intention, ever. There was nothing, no intention either of not playing for Wales. It was the whole intention was to get as good as I can to play for Wales. Yes. And Lynn Davis and Joe Williams, they were totally unanimous with that sort of decision, and sort of made it a bit easier.
Yeah.
Then I had to put some on my mum.
Yeah, that's the movement of Surrey. That's a big. I mean, Cardiff's one thing, but Surrey's a different animal, right?
Then to move away, that was massive. Yeah. So in '78, in sort of '78, it was a big.
So what age were you there? About 20 or something?
18.
Really? Wow, that's young. That is young. Yeah. I suppose my sons just went to university. That's the age that you do it, isn't it? And I often come back to the financial thing. I always am interested in how people make this big decision to turn to the finances and how they support themselves and stuff. But I suppose you remember that your peers are going to university. Everybody's skinned to 18, 19, 20, 21. So you just think, I'm just another skin bloke that's making ends meet, isn't it?
Well, I was skinned, basically, but I knew I had a job to go to. Man.
So what was the job? What were you doing? What was your day-to-day when you got there?
Well, Guildford had a fantastic sports science laboratory, but it also had a fantastic
laboratory sounds like something off the Muppets. It sounds so serious. A laboratory with chemicals and stuff like this.
They had an incredible fitness testing centre, which was out of this world. I mean, it was so good that, later on, further on, about 5 or 6 years later, Alan Wells and Margot Wells came down here to work as well from Scotland. And, Alan Wells, the Olympic sprinter.
And what was your job?
I was a sports assistant within the sports centre. And basically catering for the students that were within the university, and basically setting up the sports halls with trampolines, all that sort of stuff, then changing it around to badminton courts, then changing it around to basketball. But also, one of the things you had to do while you were there, you had to learn how to coach other sports. Really? So I did coaching courses for canoeing, trampolining, and squash.
Really?
Badminton was obviously, whatever. So everybody who worked in the department had to specialise in different sports, and so you could coach.
And how did you get to play badminton at that point?
Well, Roger Mills was obviously, one of the best coaches in the country at the time. He basically was having players come to him from all over the country, basically, and from other countries. To play badminton all the time, and that's all he did. That's all he was doing, was coaching badminton. And so I started working there. I would see Roger in the morning. I moved into the local YMCA in Guildford. Yeah, that was the only place I could afford when I first moved there. I used to have coaching sessions off Roger at 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock until I worked. And basically he gave me those free of charge. And so when I finished work then, or when it was my days off, I would then play against his pupils in return for that coaching. So, because he was having a lot of youngsters coming there who were getting coaching, because his reputation was second to none. So I would get free coaching off him for helping him back by playing against these other players. But in amongst all that, you had Billy Gilliland turning up, you had Kieran Jolly turning up, you had Karen Bridge turning up, Karen Bettman, God bless her, who's passed away now. So you had players of
exceptional standard,
very old. Yeah.
And was there a club as such, or was it through the daytime badminton, and then you got home at night and you thought, what am I going to do? Or did you play badminton at night when you finished work?
I was just about to say I joined Wimbledon Badminton Club. Yes, I joined Wimbledon, which is only about 45 minutes away, and so I used to jump on a train and go and play at Wimbledon Badminton Club with Duncan Bridge, with Mark Elliott, with Karen Bridge. I mean, some of the players were, fantastic there. It was one of the best clubs in the country.
Did you hear the interview with Jim Mailer?
No,
Jim Mailer's he was a Scottish #1 with Bruce Flockart for a long time. That they went toe to toe. But anyway, in his interview, he would get, I can't remember, it was a linesman or an umpire or something like that. He had a friend that was a linesman, that's right, that lived in Wimbledon. And he would come down, he would get a nod that the Danes were coming over for a weekend, say, and he would jump on a train down from Scotland to Wimbledon, and he would, stand on the side, and it's Morton Frost would be there, say, oh, would you like a game or whatever, and he would just, that kind of stuff. So he was coming from Scotland for that stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had the most incredible setup then. After about 6-7 weeks, Roger said, look, why don't you come and live at my house? You had a massive house and loads of room. Come and live at my house.
Move out the YMCA for you.
Yeah, get out of the YMCA. That was a bit.
Bunk beds and all sorts. Yeah, I'm sure at that time as well.
Yeah, so I lived with Roger for a little while, and then again, one of those incredible scenarios where a meeting with somebody changed my life again. Where I was working, and I was upstairs, and I was talking to somebody, and I just got this tap on the shoulder, and he goes, "What are you doing up here, you Welshman?" And it was a gentleman called Major Gordon Richards, MBE. And he turned around to me and said, what are you doing up here from the valleys? I said, trying to learn play badminton, and I'm not doing too bad. So went through what I'd been doing, and I might get a few comments on this, but he said, "Oh, that puffed us sport." Yeah. I said yes. That sport. He said, "All right, okay." He said, "So do you think you're fit?" I went, "Yeah, I think I am." Now, bearing in mind he trained special services, and also bearing in mind he trained Jim Fox, the Olympic gold medalist for modern pentathlon, Jeff Thompson, the world karate champion, Robin Belcher was the world #1 at K1. So he said, "Do you think you're fit?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow morning." So it was I turned up at 6 o'clock again before work, and went through this session with him with a couple of other guys who, extremely fit. He said, "Okay." He said, "I got one rule." He said, "You give us 100% during the training sessions, and we'll see how it goes."
Really?
So, so the training sessions were pretty brutal, as you can imagine. And basically, after about 4 or 5 days, he said, "I've had a chat with the other athletes," and he said, "You're very welcome to carry on joining with us." He knew I had to go to work after doing these sessions, Mike. And obviously, so I'm trying to marry up now the fitness with the technical side as well.
Going to work. You forget about going to work.
And work. Yeah. So there was a lot going on at this particular time, but he then he changed my life.
Did he?
At that point? Yeah. And so what happened is, after a period of time of doing this, he lived very close to the university with his wife. And he said, "Well, why don't you come and live with us?"
What,
You know, because
Phil, what is it with you?
I know. Everybody wants to take
Everyone, come to Scotland, come and live in people's, move to.
Yeah. So he goes, "Why don't you come and live with us?" Everybody feels sorry for
Little
him.
boy from Wales in the valleys, yeah, quite right. Good.
Yeah.
It's nice,
And
isn't
he
it?
said, "Why don't you come and live with us?" They didn't have any children or anything like that. And basically, he became my mentor then. And
Had you never had the influence of physical coaching before, really? Is that your first proper influence of somebody saying, "No, you need to really bust it"? Yeah. I mean, there's a few guys in Scotland I've interviewed that had that. Andy Cook I interviewed in Scotland, and he is that kind of coach. Yeah. He was, by his own admission, not an exceptional player, but he was hard. He's a performance coach. He would force people to be as fit, and that's Jim Mailer. That's what he said. He says, "I just wanted to be as fit as I possibly could be, to run and cycle and lift the weights and just have." So I could wear somebody down on the badminton court. That was his aim, right? To be fit enough to be able to go and go and go. So when the other guy is falling over, right?
Yeah. Well, Gordon literally he came along to badminton and he studied it. He said, "Right." He said, "I've worked out all the components of fitness you need." Because that's what his forte was. Psychological and fitness. But he looked at badminton and said, "Right, you need to be able to do these types of movements, dynamic movements, reaction movements, all this sort of stuff." I mean, the stuff I was doing with Roger, I mean, not to say anything that I did with Roger was not whatever, but this was very much more the physical side, yes. But mental side.
Yes.
Mental side.
Quite a lot of people I've interviewed have had two coaches at the same time of different influences. That have one which is that. Well, I suppose that's what they have now, right? You have a physical performance coach, and then you have a coach who's into the technical side of the game, and you'd have different. Yeah. Nowadays, they've got psychologists, they've got food nutritionists, they've got physio, they've got at your fingertips, right? 5 days a week. Okay, what are you going to do today? Is you going to do this, or tomorrow you're going to do that? Or it's incredible, absolutely incredible what they've got on their fingertips now.
Yeah.
It's compared to you kind of hacking your way through it. So by the time you're continuing to play badminton all of this time, I guess. And are you feeling the benefit of the physical side from that workout, those workouts? Well,
yeah, I think what happened was that. I had no contracts or anything still at this point.
What age were you now? What age was this?
I've just turned 19 now, and so I've got to that point, and then I've been playing at Wimbledon, and then the All England came along. Got to go through the qualifying at Wimbledon.
Did you?
And the qualifying was never easy. You had to play 3 matches and. Every match was harder than the next. So I managed to get through the qualifying. And so I'm going to make my first appearance at Wembley Arena at the All England. At the time, I was using Yonex equipment. Didn't really have a serious contract with them. But they were brilliant. They made up the brightest red tracksuit with whales across the back of it you've ever seen. It was fantastic. It was. And just for the All England for me. I wasn't being paid then. I didn't have any financial help from them, but I got free equipment, basically. So I got to the All England. Was drawn against Ray Roth, who was a brilliant Kent player and also England player as well. Wasn't favourite to beat him, but I managed to beat him. And so I got through that round. And then the second round, I met Andy Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy was a couple of years earlier, he'd won the Junior European Championships, which I didn't go to because Wales weren't allowed to go to that one in Malta because of the previous, some of the team players had done at the previous European Championships. So I never went to a Junior Europeans. But I played Andy Good. And that caught the eye of, because Andy was obviously one of the best England junior players coming through at that time. And I was obviously like one of the best Welsh players who was coming through at that time. And it caught the eye of quite a few, racket manufacturers that did. I had a bit of a marathon match with him, but I sort of managed to overcome him. And then, obviously, the best present in the world then is that I got to play Fleming Delphs in the last 16 of the All England at that 1979.
Was it a big affair with a lot of fans, with a lot of people watching, or not?
Oh,
was it
huge? That was massive. The All England in those days is huge, and once you progress through the rounds, getting close to quarterfinals, the stadium the arena was nearly full.
Was it? Wow.
And I mean, they literally a busload of people came up from Wales to watch it. Coach load. So you can imagine me going on the court now. So I decided I didn't wear tracksuit bottoms, but I had this bright red tracksuit with Wales splashed all over the back of it. I was so proud, and went on the court. And Fleming Delphs, obviously world champion, you seeded number 1, I think, at that particular time, and went up to the net. And I like a good grip.
Yes.
Fleming was not that way inclined, really? but he sort of looked at me and goes, "Where's Wales? Where's Wales?" So, but it was an incredible experience,
Amazing.
That was fantastic. I loved it. It was every minute of it. And like everything, Fleming had probably the best backhand in the world, by far. I mean, and he had such an incredible smash on his backhand side. And when I was playing him in the first set, he never did one smash. And he was like, "Oh, come on, I want you to smash. I want to see what it's like."
It's amazing,
and then, in the second set, he did a few smashes, and I never saw him. They just hit the deck. He was
So
bang,
steep.
and he was like. Then you realise, you think, that's why you're so good. That's just why he's so good.
Wow. I haven't asked you. You know what? We've been on for 50 minutes, right? And I haven't asked you a single question. I've asked your name. I've asked your name, and I think I'm going to have to cut it short because I've got Peter Ferguson coming on at 5. So I'm going to come. We're going to have to come back same time next week. I suggest we come back again. Is that okay?
Lovely. Great talking to you, and give my regards.
Lovely to speak to you too. I'll go and prepare for him. It's been great chatting to you. And next time, I promise to ask you some questions. It's meant to be the idea. That was great. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Phil. Cheers. Take care. Cheers.